Flames Unfiltered with host Brad Burud, Kyle Lewis, talking Flames hockey every single week. And it's a regular episode, Kyle. We got some stuff, some off-season stuff to talk about here in Calgary.
Yeah, a little bit. And there's going to be probably quite a lot more in the next few weeks. So we'll be doing a few regular episodes coming up.
Okay, I got to get something off my chest right away. And I pray that you're not one of these guys I'm going to have to come through the camera and we're going to have another fight. You're not a Canadian citizen cheering for the Oilers just because they're from Canada, are you?
Like I didn't prep me for this question at all.
I did not at all. We don't ever prep about we have these battles on air.
No. It's a little more complicated than that. I kind of had to play the part when I was in Edmonton, and I was happy to do so with my ex at the time. You know, she's a huge Oilers fan, and I was trying to be supportive, and there's some photos circulating of me wearing an off-color shirt with an Oilers logo on it. I hate to admit that on the show, but I will say, it was something. Anybody who's been in a relationship that really care about you always do things you don't necessarily want to do. So
no, when I asked this question, Kyle, I did not know it was going to go down that road.
I didn't know I was going to go down that road because I'm like, do I really want to get into this? But you know what? I'll go through a bit of a hard time, and I'll tell you how I know I'm going through a little bit of a hard time. So I'm doing two things right now. I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff, like old books, old clothes, just stuff. I got way too much stuff in my house, as my ex would no doubt tell anybody who cared to listen. And I'm playing more video games. And when I'm playing more video games, it means I'm not in a good place mentally because I'm trying to distract myself from my thoughts, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Now, people will say to me, it's like, at least you're aware. That's the first step. It's not the first step if you don't do anything beyond that, right?
It's like, I'm aware.
Yeah, my life sucks. I know it.
But I'm not going to do anything about it.
Now, to be fair, and I'm just gonna call her my ex again because I do love her and hope things will eventually work out. She did wear this very hat for me at a Flames game, despite being an Oilers fan. So I had to return the favor. Now, did I have to return it in the context of a playoff game where she went to the Flames game in December? Probably not.
Tuesday in February, I would have maybe let you off the hook. Now I'm a little.
Yeah. Well,
okay. And we talked about this before. Like me living in the States, albeit the border. Mm-hmm. For me, I never look at these things I think I'm speaking for pretty much all of America. I don't look at this as a Canadian American thing at all. It's just it's two NHL teams. And I am not a Florida Panthers team fan at all. I'm not. But we all know my hatred for the Oilers, albeit not as bad as the Canucks.
Let's wait for that.
That's just the way it is. But I don't want to listen to this garbage for the next years coming. I'd rather listen to we still don't have a goalie talk, right?
Well, okay, yeah. There's two things. No, there's multiple things, but there's two things I'm going to mention quick. Then we'll get into some other stuff. As to why I struggle a little bit with the Oilers. I struggle with them because I'm a Flames fan, of course. But I also struggle because I watched that video, I think that Amazon released to McDavid last year in the final when he's throwing a temper tantrum.
Yep.
And I know he's relatively young. I know the stakes are high. I know it's emotional. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to have any idea what it's like to be in his shoes because God knows I don't. I suck at hockey. But that to me was like, come on, man. You got to be better than that. That's not being a leader, you know?
Well, that's right. That's exactly what I was just going to say. That's not like a true leader.
Now, yeah, but to be fair, people called Sidney Crosby a crybaby for a long time too, and maybe he was when he was younger, but he's one of the most mature, respected captains in the history of the sport at this point. So I digress. Okay,
let's change subjects. I got two more things before we get to.
You weren't ready for that.
No, I wasn't.
I wasn't ready for that. But anyway,
when I knew it on the relationship thing, I'm like, whoa, that derailed quickly.
Well, you got to talk about your feelings, man.
It's the truth, though. Like we have stuff in our lives too, right?
Yeah,
goods and bads, right? Speaking of bads, and this is another Canucks thing that irritates the living daylights out of me. Did you happen to see the AHL playoff game the other night?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I never did hear a justification. Well, what happened? So the listeners that didn't see this, the Charlotte Checkers, which is the Florida Panthers, my AHL team, against the Vancouver Abbotsford Canucks, the Vancouver Canucks. AHL team are in game 1 of the playoffs in double overtime. Seelov's is got his back turned. Both centers initiate. The ref blows his whistle, drops the puck, and the Canucks forward the center wins it right into his own net as his goalie's just turning around, and they call it a no goal.
Mm-hmm.
Any explanation? I don't know it. I haven't heard it, and I don't know what there's going to be to make. And then to make it worse, Abbotsford scores minutes later and wins it in double overtime. This is an officiating joke.
Well, the justification was allegedly that Seelovs wasn't ready, and
doesn't matter.
But I immediately thought
blows the whistle, and your center. That is your. I had coaching my daughter's hockey this year. I had a little come to Jesus with a little girl about you before you take it in zone. No, I did. I told her before you go in to take a draw in our defensive zone, you turn around and make sure your goalie's ready. If your goalie's not ready, you better not turn around and initiate the draw. That is the center's job.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. It immediately made me think of Roman Cechmanek dropping his glove in the 2002 playoffs against Toronto. He dropped his glove and he bent over to pick it up, and the puck went right over his shoulder into the empty net.
I forgot.
And it just counted. And and God rest his soul, Cechmanek passed away not too long ago. But things like that, it's like, it just seems to me in pro sports and large, maybe more so in hockey, or just because I watch more hockey, they think they got the rules figured out, kind of, and then something happens. It's like, well, shit, what do we do here?
Well, I know, but that one's a pretty cut and dry, though. Once you referee initiates the play with a blown whistle, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter then.
Well, I suppose it shouldn't, but for some reason they decided it did. And
oh,
also, let's just point out, just to give a bit of credit where it's due, Florida and Charlotte are both in the respective finals.
I know.
Man, you're doing something right if your minor league team and your pro team are both in, their respective finals. Like, that's wild.
That is. It is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
One more thing. I saw another thing, and when I saw it, I thought, oh, I would almost called you.
You should have.
But I didn't, because I wanted.
I told you I'm depressed. I'll take a friendly phone
I wanted to save it for the show, Kyle.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm glad the show comes before our friendship. All right, lay it on me. What do you got?
I'm not so sure that without the show, we have a friendship.
We absolutely do not.
We would have never met. We would have never met.
Not a chance.
Okay. So I saw this on TikTok. It said, what is the last unused NHL jersey number? There was one that was used, I don't know how many years ago it was. I'd say within the last 10 years. That was the last number that nobody had in the NHL had ever worn in a regular season game. It had never been worn. Do you know what number that is? And I can tell you the player you're never going to guess, but do you know that number? I guessed wrong when I did it. I said 57. I said 57. It's not.
Trevor Van Riemsdyk, 57. I wanted to say 69 just to be immature, and I don't know.
When I was watching, that was
somebody. You mean thousands of people said that? All right, now I have no idea. What is it?
Number 84.
84. Oh, Mikhail Grabowski.
No,
he wore it though.
Yeah, he did after Lotendress did.
Oh, that was so close to. They played the same era.
I know. Crazy, huh?
All right, this show's over. I'm out of here.
All right, I'm talking Flames about myself.
That's right. I should have like that slam door, sound effect to play. But
speaking of which, let's just pause the Flame stuff for just one more minute. We're 10 minutes into the show. We haven't talked one thing Flames. That's okay. It's off season. Right. I want to talk about your Hockey for Heroes, and I put together a little slide thing too that we can put up as you described this. We've talked about this on the shows where Kyle raised money for the Heart and Stroke Foundation and was able to raise $2,305 through listeners, friends, family, acquaintances, who knows. But first off, everybody, thank you for your donations. It was a great cause. And I know Kyle had a great time this weekend, or a couple weekends ago. So you know what? I want you to fire off and tell me all about it because I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, so it's put on by Napa, the auto parts supplier here. They do one in Halifax as well. So I'd heard of Hockey Heroes for a few years, but I hadn't ever had the opportunity to play it until this year. So I don't even know where to begin, but I guess I'll start with the beginning of the weekend for me, which was the Thursday night. Ended up hanging out with a really good friend of mine, Scott Hickey, and then we ended up having some drinks with Matthew Barnaby and Derek Roy. Talked about, some of their adventures post playing. It was this crazy late night. The next night was the same way, but the next night, the Friday night, was the night of the draft, where hilariously my team elected, after much discussion, well, I think it was the 10th overall pick, decided to draft Zach Kassian of Edmonton Oilers fame, as you can see in the graphic here. So it was really, really cool. Kassian was super fun to be around. Took us all out for dinner, had lots of drinks together, and he shared some pretty funny stories as well. And then, as you can see from the pictures, I mean, the whole weekend, I spent a lot of time with Mark Giordano, got to play against him, got to play against Andrew Ference, got to hang around Darren McCarty. Actually, it was kind of cool. Ference and I talked a lot about coming out of the lockout and how much it hurt the Flames and how good that team was in 05-06 that should have beat the Ducks but didn't. And Darren McCarty said the exact same thing. Talking with Doug Gilmour was a really, really fun experience as well. Didn't get to play against him, but got to talk lots of Flames with him and his current role as an ambassador for the Leafs, and Guy Carbonneau and his role with the Canadians. It was just a surreal experience. It felt like I was on vacation. I mean, I slept in my own bed every night, but it felt like I was away it was so surreal. You go to the rink every day and you have your own stall, and there's massage therapists on staff in case you pull a muscle from being so dehydrated from all the booze. Probably the funniest thing and there's a few things that happened, including karaoke night with Cassie and singing Strawberry Wine, and a conversation right in front of me where Giordano and Cassian were talking about how Gio was trying to get Tkachuk to fight Cassian when he should have the first time. Yeah, it was just a wild experience all around. And Doug Gilmour ended up signing a stick for me, and knowing that I may have mentioned this before, but knowing that I was a Flames fan, he said, "Do you want me to sign it 39?" I said, "Dougie, if you sign that 93, I'll tell you where you can put that stick." But a real gentleman. All the guys were great. The opposing teams are all great. The draft night was probably the coolest because Rod Black from TSN actually emceed it. Oh, Jerry Cheevers was the master of ceremonies alongside Rod Black, or the host, I guess you'd say. And it was just so cool to sit at your own draft table. Your jerseys are all laid in your chairs for you, and you actually sit there and huddle okay, who's left on the board? So Giordano was the first overall pick, selected by a buddy of mine, Matt Tull. And then when it came to our pick, when they picked Cassian, I couldn't stop laughing. I'm what are the odds of that? The first year I play in this, and we get a renowned Oiler on our team, but he was an absolute beauty. He started calling me Louie, which is funny because that's what they called Trevor Lewis when he played in Calgary. But he was hollering my name from the bench, and he made a couple of sick passes. Scored an unbelievable shootout goal too. Anyway, it was way too much fun. I'll be doing it every year. Hopefully raise more money. We did 1.3 million this year, which was just incredible. But yeah, what a fun experience. I'm still nursing an injury. I took a shot off the leg by a guy that was 6'6". From point blank, my leg got all swollen and bruised and infected, and I had to get an IV, and it's a big long story. But anyway, it's it almost killed me, but it was fun. But you know what? Most fun things in life will damn near kill you. So
that's true. True. Great story. And yeah, again, and we know a few listeners were generous and donated, and thank you. It's a great cause, and it's not just the fun that Kyle had, but it's the good that it went to also. And next year we are gonna, as a podcast, support it probably twofold, as we'll start promoting it earlier, and really make sure next year is a success for you and the organization as well.
Yeah, and I should mention too, one of the probably coolest thing that happened was I won the silent auction for the Giordano signed jersey, and I got a wicked deal on that. I got the picture with him with the jersey, and I was able to share with him some messages from the Gaudreau family, and Gio was really, really touched by that. And then he sought me out after we played against each other just to give me a hug and say how great it was to meet me, and just the most gracious guy I could ever hope to meet. It's the second time I met him, but it's been 6 years since we'd last spoken, so I doubt he remembered me, but it was just a it was a really cool experience. It kind of reminded me a lot of how hockey brings people together in so many different ways. So, I'll have stories from that for the rest of my life, even if I never played it again. So,
Yeah, the hockey family or the hockey world is a tight family, and
yeah, big time.
they do a lot of good, and that's great stuff to see, and a lot of fun too. Flames talk. We're 15 minutes in. We're going to hit it now. Let's start off with probably the biggest news over the little break that we've had. Let's talk about Dustin Wolf and his runner up for the Calder, which, I mean, if we would have said at the beginning of the year that he was going to be the runner up for the Calder, I think everybody would, all of us Flames fans and everybody would have jumped up and down in happiness for this, because this is huge, not just for him, but for the future of the organization, right? It's one thing we really learned last year is that Dustin Wolf is for real, and we're super excited for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, if Dustin Wolf, God forbid, was an Edmonton Oiler, they'd be winning the Stanley Cup, because a good goaltender I think is a missing ingredient on that team, and Dustin Wolf is. I'd put him already against any other goaltender in the league. The only thing he kind of lacks in the league to this point is that big game experience. But if you watched the other day, the Flames posted a video of like the best saves of the season. Vladar had some dandies too, but
he did.
Watching Wolf play, the way he reads the play, like when he's low in the crease and he gets a glove up, like he's so, how do I say that? He's so much in the proximity of the puck at all times. He can make reactionary saves, like nobody's business. A lot of movement's insane. He absolutely wins the Calder if the Flames have made the playoffs. If the Calder Trophy was solely awarded on value to their team, Dustin Wolf wins it hands down. He lost to Lane Hudson because Hudson plays in a significantly larger market in Montreal. And Hudson had a tremendous season as well.
He did. And I do want to add
that not to take anything away.
No,
yeah.
Lane Hudson had a remarkable career. And both Lane Hudson and Dustin Wolf were not considered favorites for this award coming into the year. Macklin Celebrini, who was a third place vote getter, was really the guy targeted to be the favorite heading into the season. And for both Hudson and Wolf to do this, it's quite an honor. And the honors don't stop there for Dustin Wolf, as he was a unanimous choice for goalie on the All-Star rookie team, or the all-rookie team. He was the runner. He was also received a third place vote in the Vezina voting, a fourth place in the Hart, and a second and 2 third place votes for the goalie All-Star team too. So that's a lot of awards for a rookie that quite honestly, when the season started, we really didn't know where it was going to go. We had good projections based off what we had seen in every level for him, but what an outstanding year.
Oh, it was absolutely incredible. I want to say this too. So I've mentioned before, my brother has always enjoyed the fact I have no problem, no qualms admitting when my team is garbage or they do something stupid or whatever. But in this instance, when we're talking about Dustin Wolf, we have to mention that, if I'm not mistaken, there was 2 people that left him off their Calder ballot.
Yeah. Let me see. There was actually 3.
Okay, so those 3.
Name them? Should we name them?
Nah, forget it. They're not worth mentioning. Here's the thing, and I can't emphasize this enough. If you didn't have Dustin Wolf on your, like, if you didn't throw a vote his way in this Calder race, if he didn't make it to your ballot, you should have nothing to do with the sport of hockey, because clearly you don't watch it. And I don't know what teams these people are watching, but you can ignore
that? I'll give that. The 3 teams that they represent are Philadelphia, Dallas, and Washington.
So 2 teams in the East, I could maybe see that. Somebody watching Dallas.
I'm sorry though. No. If you left any of the top 3 off your list, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because those 3 were clear-cut favorites. I mean,
okay, so let me ask this, because now I'm curious. Who would another goaltender be that could have made the all-rookie team other than Dustin Wolf?
That's a real good question. There's
none. But at the very least,
it
tells you how big, like, Dustin Wolf didn't come in and share duties and have a relatively strong year. He came in absolutely dominated and took the starter's job pretty quickly and established himself as one of the league's best. And that's not up for debate. So those guys that didn't have him on their ballot are idiots. So, and that's all the mention we're going to give them.
Now you got to be thinking of who else would be in contention for all rookie goalie. I'm going to look that up later. but not now. Another thing I wanted to touch on the award show is I hated that there really wasn't an award show, albeit corny, and I hate the corniness of it. I think they should still do it along with the draft, but have it be professional and not stupidly corny like it has been the last half a decade.
Yeah,
I also wanted to touch on one other thing. Sean Monahan, a former Flame and still a favorite of many of ours, was this year's recipient for the Bill Masterton Trophy, and that's awarded to a player who best exemplifies the qualities and perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. And Johnny Gaudreau's wife was the one who presented it to him at his home. And I'll tell you what, I don't think that anybody that has a heart inside of them or feelings inside of them didn't shed a tear watching that video.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all know what could have been had Monahan and Gaudreau played together in Columbus. I think they would have been a playoff team. And the friendship between those two was very well documented. And that video of Monahan congratulating Gaudreau on the overtime winner against Dallas in 22 is one of the most heartfelt moments that you'll ever see in Flames history and certainly all of hockey. So well deserved. I mean, and also considering, that Monahan went through so much injury wise and had just unbelievable what he's come back from. So it was, it was pretty touching.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing that happened during our little break from regular episodes, albeit we're still putting out content every single week, some coaching staff changes as Dan Lambert will not return this season. Brad Larson, who was away and on leave of absence, will be back for the 25-26 campaign. And Trent Cull, who was the AHL coach last year, who did fill in for Brad Larson, will stay with the team and now be a full-time assistant. And I know this was a big thing, and I know you brought it up many times last year. But what Trent Cull did for Calgary's penalty kill last year was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he very much turned it around. The guy's been cutting his teeth for a while. Obviously, had a lot of success with a lot of the Flames prospects. And as soon as he got the interim gig, I kind of had a feeling he was going to be around to stay because he's just that good of a coach. And has one of the best mustaches you'll ever see. So we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that.
The penalty kill, just to put it in perspective, the penalty kill was at 72.6%, 29th overall for the first 34 games.
Oof.
Trent Cull steps in. In the final 48 games, they were 83.1%, 12th overall in the league. Impact.
Wow. So, and just imagine, so you think of how close we were to the playoffs. Had he come in maybe 5 games sooner and his systems had prevented, I don't know, 3-4 power play goals, were we talking playoffs? Changes. The margin for error is so thin.
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
A couple other things. Let's talk about little news tidbits. God, I can't talk today. That happened today, actually. There was the Peter Hanlon. He is now the assistant general manager. He was the vice president of communications with the club. He steps into an assistant general manager's role. Mm-hmm. I don't know a ton what that means right at the moment here, but I guess we'll see as he works hand in hand with Craig Conroy.
Yep. One of the most well-liked guys in the organization and been around for a long time. Yep. I'm a little bit surprised by the appointment, but I don't know a whole lot about his personnel management skills other than to say that, he works his ass off and people really enjoy being around him. So Calgary likes to hire from within, and I think it's really good to do that in any organization because it shows you've got some upward mobility there. So we'll see, what that means. I'm curious to hear Peter talk about it in terms of what his responsibilities will be in terms of the day-to-day, because obviously we're not as familiar with the assistant GM role as, that of the GM, but the guy's a great communicator, and I think so is Craig Conroy, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons they had him pegged for this job is that relationship he's likely to have or will build with other GMs, other advisors in the league, the scouting staff, trade possibilities. Like, he's a very, very intelligent man, so this could be a sneaky good move.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to see what impact that changes. One other thing that dropped today too is I believe every country listed off 6 players that will be on their preliminary roster for next year's Olympics in Milan. Slovakia named Martin Pospisil as one of their 6. So a Flame that we know right now is going to the Olympics.
Yep.
that will be fun to watch. And lately, a lot of Calgary talk in the media has surrounded around Rasmus Anderson. And me and you pegged this for the biggest story of the summer. And I don't think that took a genius to do, but we did it. And yeah, it'll be interesting as various things have been coming in with rumors of the Flames going after JJ Peterka, other things with Rasmus Anderson. This week was supposedly sitting down with Flames organization, laying out some of what his expectations of a contract were, and thus the Flames laying out what their expectations of a contract look like for Rasmus Anderson. And that'll be interesting to see how that goes the next couple of weeks as we get closer and closer to the NHL draft.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. I mean, I like to think, for the sake of the team and the commitment, that Rasmus doesn't have as much of a leg to stand on after the season he had.
The numbers that I've seen floated out there seem extremely high.
Well, they're extremely high, especially for a team that has a lot of budding defensemen, a glut of them, in fact. Now, I'm all for packaging one of those prospective defensemen to another team if it means getting another high-end forward, potentially, and keeping Anderson if the terms and dollars make sense. But from what we're all hearing, I don't know that the terms and dollars make sense unless there's some kind of a hometown discount that comes into play here. But thus far, it sounds like it's going to be a very lucrative deal, which may mean he goes elsewhere.
What terms and the dollar value do you seem what would you look at as a keeper money, I guess?
I don't go over 7 with him.
Okay, then I think he's gone. And I agree with you. I agree with you completely. I thought a little bit the other night, maybe 7.5. But you know, I sit and I look at this and I look at the season he had last year, and I mean, I think Rasmus Anderson's a great player. I just don't think he's a top end defenseman. And I think if we were able to get him for 7.5, I think I could handle and live with that, because I think he's good. I've had people say to me, well, the second we let him go, that's the guy we're looking for again. And I have I don't argue that, but I don't know that we don't have that in our system already.
I don't really know. Yeah, I mean, I based on this past season, at least, I know what he's capable of because we've seen it. But I mean, I think he's, as of right now, he's playing the most replaceable position in our team. Apart from, like maybe a fourth line center or something, not as important.
Yes.
But
most replaceable impact position, I guess. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd love to see him stay. I really think a lot of the player. I mean, he talked about all the minuses he ate, the glut of defensemen, the way the fans treated him. So he made a lot of comments that were indicative of him potentially wanting a change of scenery, unless the team backs up the Brinks truck. And I think that's the difference. If he was happy with his play, happy with the media, happy with his role in the team, then I think that predicates a discussion of a potential hometown discount, which makes it palpable for both sides. However, given that he's expressed all these things and there's trepidation about giving him too much money in term, I think the likely answer is going to be packaged out of here by the draft or over the draft weekend.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. But another contract on another team got me thinking too about other Flames players. And when Colorado re-signed Brock Nelson at 3 years, $7.5 million, I started to think $7 million for Kadri looks like a really good deal. Is this a time to gain assets on that before he gets too old? Or where do you feel on that? Because you know what? I'm the first to admit I was all get rid of Kadri. And then last year I realized and woke up to the impact he was for our team. And I still think having him next year, he would be that impact player. I'm just not so worried about next year. I'm just kind of worried about the years after that, right?
I think you have to keep him. He's been a really good soldier for this team. He's a highlight reel machine goal-wise. I think you have to keep him until the deadline. And if you're in a playoff position, more likely you keep him, because you do need guys like that. And $7 million, as much as it was like wow at the time, especially after his first season, it's not so bad now.
Are you worried about a regression though next year? Was this a one-off this year?
I don't think so, because he's not over the hill, and I think that with the right line mates, he can have another successful year. The problem right now is he's being pressed a little bit much into, top line center duty. And I don't know how to answer that in a single summer because typically you have to draft a player and develop them, or you get lucky and acquire a player who doesn't want to be somewhere else, which is obviously quite rare, and that guy hasn't his potential yet. So, I don't have any concerns about him aging out. Maybe I should, because it happens to. I mean, that old saying, "Father Time is undefeated." But I think he's a really important piece for this team to take the next step. And if it turns out to be otherwise, then you trade him for maybe a little less value you get today, but that doesn't hurt the direction of the team. I don't think trading Kadri today is going to expedite anything. If anything, it'd be more hurtful.
It would be, and I would agree with that because it's not like we have a top line center just sitting in the wings waiting, right? So we have serious center issues, which I do feel like we'll talk about in a minute here. It will be addressed at the draft, but yes, if they're drafted this year, they're not. I mean, a first end center is not. They're 3-4 years away still, right?
Yep.
And that's a timetable I would look at. Very rarely do you draft a first line center that steps in and handles that position at the National Hockey League level. I mean, that's a tough ask.
Well, look at all the best teams in the league. I mean, Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, Bedard, even though we're not quite sure what his ceiling is yet. I mean, even Mark Scheifele in Winnipeg, like you have to have that top end center to be a competitive hockey team. Florida with Barkov and, same with Sam Bennett as well. I don't know. People may want to capitalize on his trade value right now, and I understand that, especially with now, like you mentioned, the Nelson contract, which is a great point. Any number of teams could take that on, but I really don't feel the timing's right. And I think the player, because he committed to Calgary and has such a positive attitude by all accounts, he deserves a chance to win here.
Yeah, so. I think it's fair. I mean, I loved his play last year.
Yeah, me too.
We have 3 pending UFAs in Dan Vladar, Joel Hanley, and Kevin Rooney. We're weeks away in here from July 1, and it looks like they're heading to free agency. Is there any one of those 3 or more than one of those 3 that you'd put a strong pitch to keep before July 1?
Vladar. I still don't think that that's going to happen, but because of how well he played, because of his familiarity with the team, how well he worked in tandem with Wolf, I would much rather do that. I don't think the team feels comfortable turning to Devin Cooley because of his injuries this year. I'm over the Rooney experiment, and this is the thing, and I was talking to Trevor Neufeld about this today a little bit on X. Kevin Rooney had a really good second half, but he's a year older. Another summer has passed. And guys like that, because I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen because that's not entirely fair to the player, it's not going to get better, and more likely it's going to get worse. So I think you need to move on that. And kind of the same goes for Joel Hanley. Hanley is going to get paid probably more than he's worth to go to another team, which good for him. He had a great season. But if Rasmus Anderson is conceivably replaceable to some extent or another, Joel Hanley is absolutely replaceable.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree.
Yeah. So one of the guys speaking of contracts, did just resign, we need to talk about too, is Adam Klapka. So
yes,
2-year deal. What are your thoughts on that?
2-year deal, 1.25. It's non-waiver eligible. It's a one-way deal, which tells us a lot, and will probably pen his name in as a right wing on the 4th line for the opening of the season, or otherwise I would be surprised. I think the term is perfect, and I think the dollar amount is perfect.
Yep, I think so too. And honestly, I think
it's perfect for both sides.
Yeah, and I could see him potentially working his way onto the 3rd line. He showed some pretty good hands for such a big guy. A really good forechecker, of course, with that size, and a decent skater for a guy that size. So I don't think we know what his ceiling is yet. It looked like fringe NHLer, tweener. Now it looks potential 4th line mainstay, and maybe a 3rd line shutdown guy. I mean, hard to say at this point. Net front presence in the power play here and there, maybe. Like, he's got a lot of interesting tools. So it's not a real sexy big news signing, but a really important one for the team.
Yep, I would agree. We touched on the draft. We're a little over a week and a half away from that draft, and Calgary picks. How many times do we pick in the draft here? I got it right in front of me. We pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the draft. We do not have a 4th rounder, but have 2 first rounders. an 18th overall and a 30 or 31, depending on, or 31 or 32, depending on how this Stanley Cup finals go. I think we're all in agreement, and I believe we both are, that center is what is going to be targeted. And I don't know that they don't draft 5 of the 7 as centers. Does that sound crazy?
No, depending on who's available. I mean, you always take the best player, but yeah, there's a major need for centers at the minor league level and the NHL for the Flames. So now I also could see them packaging a couple of those picks, or maybe Anderson, to try and move up. If they're able to do so, that changes the discussion a bit more, which is why I'm hesitant to get into any prospective talk of who they might draft.
Okay. So I wanted, and that's one of my things I have on my notes here. I saw a lot of talk on social media the last couple of weeks about the importance of the Flames moving up. And in theory, sounds fine, but in a draft that is not really super center top end heavy,
it's not a top end draft at all. It's not.
That's
a deep
what I'm
draft.
saying. Like from what everybody's been saying, and the guys who know a hell of a lot more than me, because I'm the first one to admit I'm not a big, huge prospect guy. Like I'm sitting here going, I mean, we're surely not gonna be guaranteed a top end center, even if we move up into the top 5.
No, this is. I mean, there's no such thing as a sure thing in the draft. It's actually speaking of Alex Dagg was actually at the Hockey Heroes weekend as well, which is pretty cool.
I saw his documentary. It's good.
Yeah, it was really good. And then you could even mention like Patrick Stefan is another name. Like there's so little certainty, especially in a draft that's not deep.
I don't. To me, I feel like the assets for Rasmussen could be so much better used on trying.
You just combine Rasmussen and Anderson.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, they could be better.
Could they not be better served though? I mean, than going up and taking a flyer on and I'm not saying like a Misa or a Higgins isn't a guy that's going to be an impact player for this team, or a Roger McQueen. I think he'd be great, but I mean, oof, I get leery.
Yeah, and I do too. And I mentioned I had a conversation, I think with Sea Red Central on X about that too. I don't think this is a draft that you look to move up in unless it makes a ton of sense. I think you're much more likely to package one of those picks in Anderson potentially, or one of your prospects to another team for somebody that they may be giving up on, or somebody they feel could use a change of scenery. I think moving up just in terms of draft capital in this draft doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the depth just isn't there. Next year it would make sense.
Yes.
From everything we're seeing at this point. But right now, you're better off going to the trade market outside of the draft, I feel.
I think we're definitely on the same page on this one. We're definitely on the same page.
But the funny thing is, though, I mean, like, remember like how shocking the Subban Weber trade was? Like, there's always something that can come out of left field and think, how the hell did they make that happen? But sometimes, despite the fact it doesn't seem like it, there are people in professional sports who keep things quiet. Hey, you know what? I think it would be beneficial for me to go somewhere else. Or, hey, you know what? I think we can get this guy out of this city. And that's why all these scouts and all these people, like these GMs, like they have all these conversations. So something really cool could happen. And that's what makes this fun. The Flames are very much on the upswing right now, mostly because of the emergence of Dustin Wolf. And I think, one of the next regular episodes we do could be one of the most fascinating ones we've done in a long time in terms of what we have to talk about.
And it's like, I hate to say this, but it's like maybe last year fit into this category too, but like this is one of the first years like going into the draft that I felt like we had some prospects already in our pool and we weren't like starting fresh. I always felt like when we went to the draft, it's like, oh, time to build a prospect pool. But when we have some guys that are sitting in, and after listening to GM Brad Pascal talk about like Etienne Morin is going to probably be with the AHL Wranglers next year. Same things with Basha and Gridden. So, I mean, we're got guys that are taking that next step next year. And those are guys that, I mean, that'll hopefully be progressing even further, and we'll see how they do at camp this year, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, we've often talked on this show, and it's well known in hockey circles, let alone the Flames, that we've traditionally drafted extremely poorly.
The whole 90s.
For the amount of in the early 2000s were atrocious as well. I remember being excited that like a guy like Chuck Kobasu turned into a pretty good NHLer with a few 20-goal seasons to his name, right? Because we were just so bad. Like I remember, oh god, these names are going through my head. I can't even. It's like they're going by my head so quickly. I have to pull up and grab one, right?
Leland Irving.
Leland Irving, Brent Cron. It's as far as goaltenders go. Matt Pelich as a defenseman.
Yeah.
Andre Teratukin, I remember him.
Daniel Kachuk.
Yeah, Daniel Kachuk, yeah. And actually, if I don't know where you'd find it now, but he did it in the Hockey News years ago. He wrote a really compelling piece about his draft status and star power and how it all just evaporated, and it was pretty cool. Rico Fata.
Yeah,
one of the fastest guys ever put on a pair of skates. Anyway, we're gonna get totally sidetracked with this, but point being, yeah, we've never drafted well, and now that we have really interesting pieces at just about every position. Although center's certainly lacking a bit. It's pretty fun. We're not used to this. We never get nice things. We're Flames fans.
So the Flames do pick twice in the first round. We'll see if anything changes there. So yeah, it is hard to, and I agree with you. I don't want to dig deep into prospects for two reasons. It's hard to speculate where we're even going to pick depending on what happens. And with a draft that's kind of all over the board, it's really hard to project who's going to be in your category. I think we have a little bit of an idea now, but we'll see how that first round plays out, and then head into rounds 2 through 7 on the Saturday.
It is going to be very, very interesting. And I have no doubt between now and then we'll have lots more to talk about as far as the Flames go.
NHL playoffs, we're down to 2 games remaining as we sit and record on a Monday evening here. Florida leads the series.
Potentially. Might only be one.
What do you mean?
Might only be one game left, yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't want to. Yeah. It's been an interesting series. Edmonton wins the first one, then Florida rattles off 2 with a convincing game 3, 6-1 win. That was, I tell you what, that was the night I almost lost it. I was so like, what is going on with this Oilers team and the disgrace that they were for the be cheap crap. But anyways, they come back in game 4, win it 5-4, and then Florida bounces back 5-2 in game 5, and that brings us to a deciding game Tuesday evening in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's been a hell of a series. I mean, that 6-1 drubbing was really, really tough to watch for a series that otherwise been pretty good. The biggest concerns, the biggest one for sure with the Oilers is goaltending, because they don't have a clear-cut number one. And defensively, Jake Wallman and Matthias Ekholm were atrocious in the last game. And I don't like to blame individual players, and Marchand had a hell of a game, but
oh man,
I don't know. Edmonton star power is really going to have to show up in Florida to prolong this series, and if they have any chance of winning, because it's been not where it needs to be for them to pull us off, because Florida is just so deep at every position. Like, just a fantastic team. But overall, 2 thumbs up as far as Cup Finals go. I've been more invested in this one than I was the one last year.
Me too.
And I feel the hockey has been really good. Now, again, as Pierre LeBrun had said earlier, as Ken Campbell had said earlier, I'm going to say it, and I know you're going to agree, this is way too late in the summer to be watching hockey. This should have been over 2 weeks ago, but
3 weeks ago. Yes, it should have been over.
Yeah.
We've said it 100 times. Start September 7th and end the last week of May. I mean, come on. Yeah. This is crazy.
It sure is.
All right. That was a lot of Flames talk. That was good.
It was, yeah. I kind of started us off on a different foot, but you asked a question and I gave you an answer.
That's what I want.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what the next week brings. Yeah, we got another regular episode coming here quite soon.
Yeah.
Based on everything we got to talk about. We got more special episodes coming.
So we got a draft episode coming on Saturday the 28th. We got a free agency one on July 1st. So we got all kinds of things to talk about. And of course, if something major does happen, even if it's a short one, Kyle and I will drop on and keep you up to date, because that's why we like talking Flames hockey, right?
Yeah, and actually, I just remembered this, and I want to throw this out there as we talk about talking hockey and podcasting. My buddy Scott did something really cool on that Thursday night before the Hockey Heroes weekend really started. Matt Barnaby walked up to me at the bar and was like, "Hey, so Scott was telling me a bit about your podcast." And I just thought that was so cool, Scott, to mention it, because, Barnaby doesn't really have any connection to the Flames per se, but He's asked me all kinds of questions and seemed really engaged about it. It's kind of cool how some of the guys have kind of approached me about it, and I gave it a few of our t-shirts, and the hockey community is a really welcoming one, as I kind of touched on earlier. And it's really fun when people do things like that and kind of spread the word. And then a guy I worked with the other day had randomly spoken up and said, "Yeah, just listen to your latest episode. It was really good." And I thought he was talking about the Elmwood Group podcast that I guest on occasionally because we work for the same company. He was actually talking about us, which was the one on, what was it?
Jerseys?
It was jerseys. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool.
Cool ones. That's some good ones lately.
Yeah. Yeah. We got lots more coming.
That's right. We got the draft. We got free agency. If you can, hop on over to flamesunfiltered.ca and sign up for the newsletter. You'll get the podcast and some other Flames news and articles sent to you every single week. And that should be it, huh?
That's it for now. So what tomorrow brings.
As we leave, a band called Booze and Tuna. They were the first on our show. They are currently out on the Tuna Casserole 2025 summer tour. Lots of shows, almost every single night. These guys are hilarious guys. And if you're in Grand Forks, North Dakota this weekend, where the World Juniors were, just almost 20 years ago now. They're playing there this weekend. Get out and see them. Check them out on Spotify and Apple Music. They are good. You will like it. And it was fun.
It was. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna do my damnedest. Less video games. More happy.
Life together here, buddy. With the
man, I'm not playing Atari.
Come on, that's my age.
Oh, right. All right. Well, everybody have a great week, and we will catch you on the flip side.
All right, take care.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.